Hey guys, we're back. How high the moon time? All right, where have we gone? What have we done? Oh my goodness. Oh, drama. You guys, George Steiny was arrested. Do you remember that? Oh, Miss Myrna had a hot date with George Steiny and she was walking down the street to go to his house. And all of a sudden, the sheriff's car goes flying by her and she's like, what? And she stops and she's watching as his maybe brother Johnny gets pulled out of the house and thrown up against the cop car. And there's all this like commotion and yelling, and then George gets brought out and they're handcuffed, and little sister Amy's like just on the porch by herself crying, and Myrna comes running up to her to check in on her and make sure she's okay. Do you guys remember that? That was intense. And we also know it's, number one, always a big deal if you get arrested, right? That's always a thing. But number two is that in the 1940s, in the South, as a person of color, if you were to get arrested, it is a really big deal. And it is a really big problem, okay? Because law has it that it's not necessarily going to work well in your favor, okay? Just the way it is. Which does not mean it's right. It just means that's the way that life was back then. Very common to have unfair trials, and also to not have a trial. Like you were just guilty. And it was somebody's word against yours. We don't know why you got arrested. We don't know what happened. We do know, remember, a long time ago, if you think back to it, because as we're talking about it right now, I was just thinking about it. We do know that some girls went missing. Do you guys remember that? Sometime, and they talked to Henry about it. I think it was in the last one with Henry that they talked about that with. So we do know that with Henry that was a thing that had happened. So not good at all. Hold on. Movie magic. You didn't even know I was gone for a few minutes. My daughter needed to talk to me. It happens. All right, Ella. Where did we leave Ella? Oh, Ella was getting in the car. Remember that? She was getting in the car to go. Where was she going? She was going back to South Carolina. Mama dropped the ball on her and was like, hey, I have a gig opportunity up in New York City. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm going anyways, and I'm leaving you and Helen behind. Helen's going to stay in Boston, and you're going to head back with this guy you don't even know, and he's going to drive you to South Carolina. Ms. Delagrave was not happy about that choice. Not super excited about that. I think she could have made better decisions as a mother, but who am I to judge? All right, so our mission today, let's think about the characters and how they have changed, okay? So since this is about Ella, let's think about how has Ella changed since we first met her as a young little carefree girl living in Alkaloo, South Carolina with her cousins. Has she changed since her time in South Carolina, in Boston? Let's find out. All right, Ella. What are you doing with that old hat? Philip was frowning as he motioned to my Stetson in my lap. I shrugged. He shook his head and laughed. You're a pretty little girl, Ella. You got good hair, pretty skin. Heck, you could be a star like your mama, I'll bet. Philip was standing and carefully matching the shoulders of his overcoat to each other, crossing the arms flat and then folding it over ever so gently, so as not to muss it in any way. He sat and laid the bundle of tweedy wool on his lap. You sing too? He asked, looking at me and nodding. I shook my head and quickly looked out the window. I'll bet you can sing and dance. One day soon, you should try to get those pipes and give them shoulders a little shimmy, he laughed. Don't wait too long. You don't want to be stuck in Alcoco forever. That's not the name of the town. Aha, Alkaloo, I corrected. On the platform, a little brown girl, peanut brown like me, bundled in a blue plaid coat and a knit hat pulled down over half her face, wandered through the crowd, searching for someone. Gotta escape them narrow folks, girl. Get you bigger things like your mama did. Smart lady, that Lucille. People were still swarming around the train, trying to get on. The peanut girl found her daddy and held herself tight to his legs, eyes squeezed shut. Many folks stood back, away from the train, arms raised, saying their goodbyes to their loved ones. Sad smiles. As the train pulled away, some folks walked alongside the train, then skipped. One boy even ran, all trying to delay their goodbyes. I tried to imagine my mama there, running alongside the train, trying not to let me go, but the image wouldn't come. Okay, so I was like kind of mad at Lucille anyways for the way she handled this, but I was thinking that Philip was going to drive her to South Carolina because he was heading that way. But he's not even doing that. He's taking her to the train station. Mom could have come to the train station. I hope that this gets fixed here. I thought about how Mama knelt down in front of me and cried when she said goodbye, cried like she was sad because I was going, like she really wished I could stay. Ha! Crocodile tears. That's what Poppy called them. When you're all, boo-hoo, I'm sad, but you don't mean it nohow. Like Mama, pretending she wanted me with her. I knew she wanted me to go. I was in her way. Maybe it was why she lived so far away, to be away from me. I wasn't good for her life. Is that the same Ella we know? Do you think something's changed? What changed? It's not the same positive my mama can't do no wrong Ella that we know. I had to find out who this JP was, whether he was my daddy, and if he was, where he was. Mama didn't want me in her life, but maybe my daddy wanted me in his. We were barely out of the station when I looked across from me and saw that Philip's mouth was open and he was already snoring. Okay, so at least Philip's riding the train with her, right? So that at least it's not like he was just dropping her off at the train station. I watched the city disappear into countryside. First gray and brown woods, trees that had lost their leaves, but soon, as we moved farther south, the scenery was swallowed up by lush hillsides and colorful blossoms that defied winter. After watching more than one colored person enter and exit the washroom, I had the confidence to do the same, knowing I wasn't going to get in trouble for using the wrong one. It had been nice to not have to think about that kind of thing in Boston. I wasn't even home yet, and already I didn't like having to doubt my every move. Strange how it was only a train ride from a place where people could use the same washroom to somewhere they couldn't. Maybe the white folks in South Carolina just needed to travel a little and see what it was like in places where colored folks and whites mingled. They'd see that it wasn't no big deal. Nothing bad happened because of it. As I made my way back to my seat, I overheard some folks talking. His name is George Steiny Jr., poor thing. I stopped and jerked my head around. George Steiny? But they couldn't mean our George, could they? A heavy-shouldered colored woman was holding the attention of the men and women beside and across from her. Poor thing. Did he do it? Asked the skinny lady next to her, eyebrows raised high in suspicion. Ah, now, sounds fishy to me already. The man across from them shook his head. 14? I don't believe any of it. How's he even going to hold two girls still, let alone kill 'em both? Said the other man. Did you guys see? He's being accused of killing those two girls that went missing. That's what I'm saying. The large lady shook her head and sucked her teeth. And why? Maybe he just means, said Skinny. Don't be foolish. Poor child. Even if he makes it out that jailhouse, if they don't find the real killer, he ain't gonna make it. I went to my seat, head spinning. They couldn't mean our George. George would never hurt anyone. But how many George Steinies could there be? I couldn't rest my mind trying to make any sense of it. Soon, it seemed everyone on the train was asleep but me, and I thought surely I'd be awake at sunrise, but somewhere along the way, I must have drifted off. Philip tapped me on the head with his hat. Wake up, girl. You're home. The train was just pulling into Charleston. I quickly spotted Granny searching the windows for my face. I raced down the carriage, leaped onto the platform, and ran to her. Granny! I flung my arms around her and buried my face in her scratchy sweater. She pulled me tight, and I could hear her whispering into the top of my head, "My baby, my baby." She smelled like home. I finally pulled away from Granny to say the words I'd been looking forward to saying all day. Bye, Philip. I had no reason to smile at him now. He just chuckled and told Granny what a lovely young lady I was, what a pleasure it had been to escort me home. Yeah, right. I was happy to see him get gone. We were walking towards the station exit when from behind a large column, Henry jumped directly in front of me. Henry! I gave him the biggest hug ever. That's how you welcome me home? Scaring me to death. Scared? I thought that city would have toughened you up by now, made you fearless. He squirmed free from my embrace, but his beaming face gave away how much he had missed me. Doesn't that just fill you with joy? In the truck on the way home, Granny told me how much they'd all missed me, and that Christmas hadn't been the same without me. It must have been nice to spend time with your mama and see her home, meet her friends, she said. What did you think of Boston? I don't know, I said. Didn't want to sound ungrateful. I guess I was expecting something different, something more like here, but bigger. Well, ain't it? Henry asked. Nah, it's loud as the dickens there, all the time. Granny, you would hate it, I said. Would I like it? Henry asked. Thought about it. Some of it, I guess. There's a lot to see and all kinds of people. I think you'd like that. And you can drink at whatever fountain you want and use whatever toilet. That true? Henry asked Granny. It is, she said, nodding. I leaned my arm and head out the window and turned to the sun. The clean breeze whipped across my face. I could smell the swamps and the trees and the woods. I breathed it all in. It was my nourishment. We pulled up to the house and Bear came to greet us, turning round and round in circles. His tail just about came off and he was wagging it so hard. Hey, boy. I dropped down to the ground so he could put his paws on my shoulders and we could hug proper. I missed you. As we moved to enter the house, I remembered what I'd heard on the train about George. Henry had lagged behind us. He was staring off into the woods, mind far away. Granny, folks was talking on the train. Did something happen with George Steiny? Granny sighed and put an arm around my shoulder. Baby, we don't know much yet. We need y'all to try and be calm right now, and we need y'all to pray. Whew. All right. Well, that's it, my friends. That is all of our story for today. Mr. Henry. Mr. I'm going to get this right. Hold on. There we go. Mr. Henry gets his chapter next. And he's got 2 short chapters in a row. So tomorrow I'm going to read a couple in a row. I'm going to move on to Myrna, Henry, Myrna, Henry, Myrna, Henry, Myrna, Henry, blah, 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 blah. And then we're almost done, guys. This book, we are just ripping through it. All right, so we don't know the facts. We don't know what really happened to George, but we know that most likely what she heard on the train is, in fact, what he is being accused of, right? Those 2 girls that I said had gone missing, they just came back up. So there's that. We don't like that at all. But we are so glad to see Ella home. And she seems so happy. Did you guys notice that change in her? Were you able to tell that? How she went from being like sulky and not excited and like not liking Philip at all. And then all of a sudden when she saw Granny, she just changed. She turned into a whole different person. Tell me, how'd she change? What's different? It's been such a pleasure to read to you. I hope you're enjoying this, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.